I'll start the session. So let me share my screen. So hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, I can able to see.
Sure. So who am I? My name is Santosh. Overall, I've got experience of 14 plus years in IT. It's more than 3 years experience of training IT courses such as Linux, Azure, Terraform. I hold around 15 plus industry leading certifications. All are current and valid. My expertise is towards Azure as well as cybersecurity. I also have knowledge in Linux Bash scripting, shell scripting, uh, and Python, right? Um, so that's quickly about me. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. So I take courses like Azure Administrator, Azure Architect, Azure Security Engineer, Azure Solutions. I mean, there's Identity and Access Management, Terraform. So in this demo or webinar, so the scope of webinar is intro to cloud computing. We know already, but I'm just giving an introduction. We'll look at Azure overview, Azure administration overview, demonstration of VM deployment, course outline, and after, if you want to know, okay, after Azure administration what can I do, then you can branch out to Terraform. That's a very good option to go for cloud automation. So it is a very good um, learning path to take up, right? So one way is to go for Azure cloud automation, which is Azure, which is Terraform. Like you already have Azure administration knowledge, Terraform would be a very good combination. Plus, if you also if that's not what interests you, then maybe you can go for administration and then Azure security. So administration security, very good combination. So you can pursue that as well. So it's up to you. But I've just given an option to branch out to Terraform. And
Okay.
finally, questions and answers. If you can ask me anything related to the topics, related to the career options, anything you can ask me, right? Now, what is cloud computing and why cloud computing? Majority by now we know because we are already in cloud computing era. It helps you a lot of it's help you with the cost savings, flexibility, um, the availability, reliability, and scalability are the main features of cloud computing, right? Unmatched availability, it provides unmatched scalability. Um, so that's what powers the cloud computing. That's what is the feature of the major majority reason why we want to go for cloud computing, right? So these are the broader advantages of why we want to go for cloud computing: scalability, reliability, and availability. Everything comes under these three categories. You have unlimited storage, you have cost saving, you have easy backup and restore. Most of these activities are managed. When I say managed, it's cloud computing, like CSP, cloud service provider managed. So they manage these aspects, right? And then there is market share of CSP. So we'll see the market share of CSPs, like how much Azure has a market share, AWS and GCP, right? Google, right? So that's predominantly a very high level introduction of cloud computing. Um, Cloud computing has many cloud, I mean, not many, like three or four cloud service model, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So depending upon what we need, we can pick one of these and then work on it. I mean, utilize that for our organization. So that is a high level of cloud computing. So how does an organization adopt the cloud computing, right? So let's say uh, the organization decides, okay, I want to move to cloud, but how do we proceed? These are the steps that an organization will take to adopt cloud, right? From if they are fully on-prem as of today. So define the strategy, plan, ready. So you define the strategy, um, you plan for the move to cloud, then ready for the cloud, then adopt, then secure, manage, and govern. So these are the key steps or stages in cloud adoption framework provided by Microsoft Azure, right? So define, plan, ready, adopt is all the stages where we move to cloud. Secure, manage, and govern is after we have moved to cloud. Like it's a day in, day out. It's a operational activities that we do after we have moved to cloud, right? So we understand the motivation behind moving to cloud. We ensure that the skills are ready for moving to cloud. Um, we have the justification, we have the business outcomes. Then we plan. How do we plan, right? The organization alignment, the roles and responsibilities should be defined properly. The skill readiness plan, the cloud adoption plan should be there, right? So we need to have an inventory of our environment so that we can move to cloud. Ready is how we want to move to cloud. What are the steps that we need to take? So we have the plan, we know what we have, and how do we want to move to cloud. So that's between adopt and plan, there is ready. So you want to plan how you want to migrate the workloads to cloud. So, and what is the operating model that we are defining? Design area guidance, implementation options. We have adopt, where we really adopt is a last phase. In fact, it is at the right place because define, plan, ready is all planning and designing and development, right? So anything and everything generally is 95% planning and 5% implementation. Implementation time it takes to implement is just 5% or 10%. The time it takes to plan, design, develop is almost 90%. That's what is important, right? That's what we do in defines, plan, and ready. We define it well, we plan the migration well, and finally in adopt stage we migrate, modernize, and innovate. And secure, manage, govern is where we look at our security posture, improve it. We manage the existing environments like patching, configuration management. We govern the environment, like what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is compliance, how do we block this, how do we block that. Yeah, that's governed stage. Quick market share is 24% Azure, 31% is AWS, and GCP 9%. Rest is 36%. When I say rest, it's Oracle, IBM, so all the other cloud solution providers combined. Azure, AWS, GCP are the top three. GCP with 9%, AWS 31%, Azure 24%. But these figures are a bit changed, I think, this year. We'll have to look at the current numbers. I'm sure it will be 24 plus for Azure. The gap between Azure and AWS is just reducing. Over the years, if you see from 2015-16, when Azure was just launched or just started till today, there's a exponential growth that Azure has shown, right? Um, so that is cloud computing continued and this cloud adoption framework. Um, Here is a customer base by like monthly spend. So if you look at tiny spend, the right hand side, right top pie chart. So the percentage of companies in each spend, 70%, 78% are tiny spend. They are using Azure. 16% small spend, 5% medium spend, and 0.8% large spend, and 0.1% Excel spend. Then you have growth of leading providers. Consume the customer count since 2019. So there is a it's in increasing trend. So there's a bit of numbers here. But the overall idea, key idea that I'm trying to explain in these two slides is that Azure is growing. There is going to be always a demand for Azure, and the market share is increasing year on year, right? So that is that's what I would like to confirm, because for the last 2021 is where I started learning about cloud, and today is 2025. Overall, 4 years is a huge uh, uh, growth for Microsoft Azure in terms of market share, in terms of the features that they provide, in terms of the cloud expansion, cloud service expansion. So a quick overview of Azure. There are at a base level, we have the regions. A region is simply a geographical area. A region is going to be contained within a geographical area, and within a region, there is going to be a multiple DCs or data centers. So as a company, I don't have to manage the data center. It's managed by Azure. I rent out their services in the form of cloud computing, cloud subscriptions, and I start using it, and I pay as I go. Right? There are plethora of services, lot of services. There are PaaS, there is infrastructure as a service version, there is platform as a service version. Whichever you want, you can use it. and you know take advantage of. For example, some organization may think that I would like to go for platform as a service because I would like to reduce the cost, reduce the overhead. Some organization may think they may have to reduce the overhead. Some organization they may think they can reduce the cost. So PaaS and infrastructure as a service, like they both provide a good options for you to go. But depends upon what is the requirement that as an organization I have. I can choose either platform as a service or infrastructure as a service. There are new services that are getting onboarded. The security is built in. There is cost clarity and transparency. Of course, it is constantly evolving, right? So this is a very high level of Azure, Azure overview. An Azure administration overview, you have these five broader topics in Azure administration: compute services, manage the Microsoft Entra ID, manage the storage services, manage and maintain the resources, and Azure networking, right? So these are, you can think of these as modules or like broader topics, domains, whatever. So these are the topics, a broader topic that we'll be looking at in Azure administration or Azure administrator, right? And quickly, I can show you the deployment of a VM, right? So any questions that we have as of till now before I move on and move to the next slide. So I'm going to quickly create a VM. Okay. So in the portal, this is how we create a VM. Just go to create, click VM. We select the subscription and resource group. I'm going to select a subscription and a resource group. Let me select RG5. I'm going to create a VM, Windows, let me say Windows 10 VM or Windows 11. I'm going to put it in a region. You have to put resources in a particular region. Many resources are regional resources in Azure. There is availability options. What is availability that I would like to go? Security type, I'm going to select standard, but you have trusted launch and confidential. Depends upon the security requirements that you have. You can select, and here I can select Windows 11 Pro. I'm going to deploy Windows 11 machine, and it's x64 architecture. I'm going to select 8 GB standard, and I'm going to provide the username and the initial login administrator account username password and username, and then so I'll have to select all these options. So we'll have to discuss disks. Disks is OS disks or data disk. What is the requirement for you when it comes to disk? What is the performance criteria for your storage? You have to specify that, you have to understand that, and then create the disk accordingly. Then you have the networking component, which is like what is the VNet that you're going to use. So I'm going to select app unit 123, which is already there, or you can create one, deploy it. I'm creating a public IP for the VM, which is required because I am going to connect to the VM from internet, from a machine from a machine to this machine. So I have to have a public IP created. And that's mostly it. So management is about how do you manage the VM? Do you want to allow Entra ID authentication? What is the monitoring that you have want to apply? And there is advanced, and finally there is review and create. I'm just rushing through because it's a demo. Each aspect has its own meaning, has its own without any spending level temporary set. Okay, why is this? I don't know, some error over here. Let me see. Let me select, okay, I think, let me select this one. So this is how you create a VM, but I think I have to change the validation. So, I mean, I have to apply the payment method. That's why this is stopping me. Something new. I don't know. Morning I deployed a VM. It worked well. And finally, I mean, after you complete all these steps, you can come here and review and create, and your VM will be created. Okay. Of course, this particular option is stopping me to create the VM, but after you have created the VM, your VM will look like this. Okay. So this is how your VM will look like. So this so you'll have the overview page. You will have a lot of options over here. Okay. The one that you are asking is in backup plus disaster recovery. You have disaster recovery.
Mm-hmm.
This is a region level um, availability option for VM. So that means you replicate this VM into another region, and you have to manually trigger the failover. So there's a manual trigger. A failover will be triggered manually. So when we discuss
Okay.
Azure administration, you'll understand this topic a bit in depth. But because you asked that option, so this is the option. It's called Azure Site Recovery, or you can say disaster recovery. So all mean the same. Yeah, this is how we create a VM. And the course outline is going to, there's going to be 30 plus lab demonstrations. So like individually per topic, per domain wise, you'll have 15 plus lab in intra ID. There is 10 plus lab demonstration storage services, manage and maintain. There is 10 plus lab compute. There are a lot of lab demonstrations. Networking, there are 20 plus lab demonstrations. So yeah, and then this course prepares you to succeed for AZ104 exam. There is real-time Azure demonstration or administration, propels your journey towards other cloud. If you're coming from other cloud, you'll understand this well. If you're going moving to the other cloud from here and then down the line, after 6 months, you want to move to a different cloud, this knowledge will help you a lot there. Prepares you to take up your next journey into Azure cloud, or you can also take up a cloud automation as a next step.